Hey guys, Languagehacker here. It's been a couple days since Deadmines has come out, and I wanted to show you the 5 decks that I think are on top right now, the 5 most competitive, best decks to play in the meta. So let's dive right in. All right, now, unsurprisingly, which is kind of what a lot of the community and pros kind of figured, is that Garrett Rogue and Quest of TKDH are still really good decks. After that, Warrior grew a bit in popularity, Pirate Quest Warrior. I'll go over the list very briefly, but I've just overview. We're going to talk about each of the 5 decks in general. Garrett Rogue and KDH still the nuts. Pirate Warrior got better with Smite being added in the Cannoneers. You get quest completion faster. You get a bit of closing power with Smite now as well, especially coming out of the Juggernaut. It's a nice little high roll you can get. So those are good. Handlock's still pretty good, not great against Rogue, still pretty good against DH, and with Pirate Warrior getting more popular, Warlock's good because it's good against Pirate Warrior. And then also Aggro Druid is the 5th-ish deck. I couldn't sell on one that was unanimously just the best, but I tried some of the other decks. Doomhammer Shaman didn't really seem to be doing it. Any of the other Druids aren't doing it either. Paladin seemed kind of meh, Hunter seemed kind of meh. Priest is we're not playing Priest really, so I think Aggro Druid is probably the 5th, because it can still just kind of steal wins against some of these, and it did get some new tools as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these, but I will post the deck list below, so if you want those, go check those out. And while you're there, you can like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date on all the content I'm doing. Anyways, Garrett Rogue, a bunch of cheap stuff that you discount with Octobot. Field Contact helps you draw your entire deck so that when you play Garrett and shuffle bleeds into your deck, that together with Guild Trader spell damage or Ethereal Augmerchant lets you basically do an OTK from 30, 32, 48 sometimes on turns 7, 8, 9-ish, which is pretty good, and it seems to just be good against everything because you don't have to go for the OTK game plan. You can just play for tempo against the tempo-centric decks. Quest OTK-DH didn't really lose anything. This is 29 cards the same. The Rogue deck was actually 30 cards the same. I don't think any of the new cards really need to be fit in the deck. Here, there used to be a Rustrot Viper because there were some more weapon-heavy decks. You can consider running a Rustrot Viper in. I have a Need for Greed in here as well. Doomhammer Shaman I haven't seen too much of. If you see some of those, you might want to include it. Can be good against some Warriors as well to reduce some damage, but post-quest completion, the Warriors still crank out a weapon every turn, so it doesn't really matter to have a Viper there. And if you see a bunch of weapon rogues, it might be better to have a Viper. I was just running a Need for Greed to test how the deck would feel with that, and it feels okay. It's not great, it's not awful, it's another tradable. Otherwise, it's the same. Complete quest, discount your deck, draw your deck, and then blow them up with Il'gynoth, Moargs, spell damage, and then lifesteal stuff. That's pretty much the same. Quest Handlock got a couple new cards. I'm not sure if this is the best 30-card list. I was just browsing around, and this is what I happened to find. This is the same 30-card list as before, minus 2 Cult Neophytes, which you probably still want in if you're facing a lot of Rogues and Demon Hunters, and it included 2 Slingers. Shadowblight Slinger has been really good. I've seen across a lot of lists. I've seen it more in Zoo, which has popped up a little bit, but I don't think Zoo is particularly stronger than this deck. However, it's still probably pretty good to run this in the deck. Battlecry, if you're taking damage this turn, deal that much damage to an enemy minion. And Chakra, you damage yourself a lot with this deck, so it ends up being 1 mana, deal a lot of damage, kind of like a Prize Plunder in Rogue, and even though it's in slightly different sense, 1 mana kill a thing can be very strong. Good pressure against some of the slower decks, and good removal against the decks that are trying to kill you faster. Quest Warrior, I'm not 100% sure on this list either. This is something I threw together day 1, 2. I did some tweaking. It is actually running 4 new cards: Mr. Smite, Blacksmithing Hammer, and 2 Cannoneers. The Cannoneers and the Smite, well, more quest completion stuff with the Cannoneer, Smite for a finisher, and the Blacksmithing Hammer is nice as a weapon to activate Cutting Class, which gives you a bit more of a card draw engine. This is slightly different than the super control heavy list we've been seeing coming off the last Masters Tour, but I feel like the Blacksmithing Cutting Class has been okay. You can trade this back in your deck if you draw it before quest completion. We even have Captains in here for some extra oomph. It's actually very tempo-heavy deck. However, there are a couple of Rancors and a Barov, because if you do happen to run into something like either a Token Druid or a Glowfly Swarm or Quest Warlock running big threats, having the Barov can really help, and Rancor as well can help clean up some boards that you otherwise might not be able to have if you have an awkward, non-reactive, or like non-do stuff hand. So because of that, little light on the removal, but still just kind of a tempo deck, close it out with Smite or the Quest. And then finally, Aggro Druids got a couple of cards in here as well. A few things have changed. So Druid of the Reef got added with the mini set, which is pretty good. Voidwalker or 3/1 Rush for 1 mana, awesome. It's a beast, but that doesn't really synergize with the rest of the deck, just worth noting. What else? So the Soil got added with Jerry Rig Carpenter, which is draw, choose 1 spell and split it, which means your Soul of Soils give you 2 spells that cost 1 mana. One is a 2/2 Treant, and one is give your minions +1 attack, which is kind of useful. Sometimes you didn't want to play stuff on 2, like a Battle Guard without a taunt with it, so you can throw down a Carpenter now. Some extra card draw on the deck helps as well, but otherwise the deck is largely still the same. Play stuff on curve, try to get a good composting, draw some extra cards, do some good Oracle of Elune stuff, Battle Guard with taunts, and then, you know, Arbor Ups and Soul the Soils to close out the game. This is probably the weakest of the 5 decks, I think, but it can still steal wins against some of these. There's a bunch of other decks in the meta, and the meta is still kind of developing, but I don't think anything that pops up now is going to be stronger than most of these decks. So this is probably where the meta is going to sit for a while. Maybe we start testing with a few different card inclusions and tech cards that might tweak the matchup spread a little bit, but overall this is about what I'd expect to be popular now, a week from now, probably a month from now, which is kind of unfortunate because 4 of these decks, actually all 5 of these were pretty much there before Dead Mines. That being said, Dead Mines wasn't a full expansion, so how much is really going to change? I was hoping that we'd have a bit more of a mix-up and maybe topple some of these 2 strong decks. Unfortunately, they're still too strong. Anyways, that's what I think. So if you're trying to climb on ladder, any of these 5 decks would be a good idea. Reminder again, deck codes are in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Happy grinding. See you guys next time. Wow, powerful. Oh. Interesting.
Do try to keep yourselves alive. Trust the pirate's code. Glory! I'm here for the gold! Send them overboard!
Huh. Smite was pretty good there, wasn't it?